Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me in another video. So I know we just experienced this whiplash of creative director changes this past fashion month. Well, there's still more to talk about, and I thought we'd address a series of them in this video. I'm sure there's going to be more, but this is where we're at right now. So last week, a huge moment in fashion history was announced. Veronique Nichenian will be stepping down as the artistic director of Hermes menswear. So she was at the brand for 37 years, almost 4 decades. Part of what made Hermes so successful, I think, and so beloved is their consistency, their resilience, and their commitment to quality. In an interview, Veronique stated, quote, "Hermes was kind enough to let me choose the moment that seemed right to stop. It's time to pass the baton." And to me, that really says a lot about her and Hermes as a house. There's grace and dignity to that kind of departure. No drama, no corporate shuffling, just legacy. We talk so much today about how fast luxury has become. Creative directors coming and going, some so quickly like they haven't even been able to express their vision. So to see someone lead a house for nearly 40 years across so many eras, just to name a few, of course she was on the men's side, but on the women's side, she saw the era of Martin Margiela to Jean-Paul Gaultier to Christophe Lemaire to now Nadège Vanhee-Cybulski. And this is on the women's side, but she always remained a steady constant for the brand. And this feels almost so unusual, almost like mythical in this day and age of fashion. Her final collection will be shown in Paris this January, marking the end of an extraordinary chapter. Which leads me to my next point. It was just announced that Grace Wales Bonner is going to be taking over the house as the new artistic director of Hermes menswear. And honestly, I could not be more thrilled. Back in 2019, in a System magazine interview, she talked about wanting to work at Hermes as being her dream. And now here we are. I just think it's such a beautiful full circle moment. What I love so much about this appointment is it breaks this pattern of what we've been seeing lately. A lot of the same few names get rotated between the same conglomerates. Grace Wales Bonner has just been doing her own thing. And she's built a label that's very personal, and that's very intelligent and deeply connected to her own heritage. And for a house like Hermes, that is the kind of authenticity that makes so much sense for a brand. She founded her label in 2014 after graduating from Central St. Martin's in London, and now she is making history as the first Black woman to lead design at a major luxury fashion house. And her brand explores themes around tailoring, sportswear, themes around the Black diaspora and post-colonialism. And her work, it's very thoughtful, it's rooted in culture. And at the Met Gala, her designs stood out not because they were really loud or attention-seeking, but because they highlighted the elegance and the essence of the wearer. There is an aspect of restraint to her work, but also a confidence, and I think that feels extremely Hermes. And when I think of Hermes, I also think of pieces that are heirloom worthy. These are special pieces, timeless objects. Pieces are objects that you can inherit or pass on, have another life beyond yours, not just items you forget about. And in her most recent collection for Spring/Summer 2026, it was called Jewel, and she said, quote, "I was thinking of people that collect specific types of clothing or records that they might have inherited certain pieces from their grandparents. They might have quite an edited wardrobe, but what they have is treasured and personal." And that philosophy of fashion as something cherished, intentional, and enduring just aligns so well with the philosophy, but also the design and the craft and identity of Hermes. At the same time, though, she's shown that she understands the business side of fashion too. I think of how incredibly successful her Adidas collaborations have been, how these collabs have been some of the most sought after sneakers. So I think she's able to bridge both worlds. Now, another story that kind of got buried under all of the debut news is what's happening over at Fendi. So Silvia Venturini Fendi, a descendant of the Fendi family, but she's also taken on the role as creative director. She's been overseeing both men's and women's, especially after Kim Jones's departure, who was previously doing the women's side. He also was doing Dior men's. Now Kim Jones has moved on to a new project. He's going to be the creative director of Ariel Ariel, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that. You can correct me down below. I'm probably butchering some of these words, but it's a line by Bosidang, a technical outerwear company from China that's now aiming to move into the luxury market. It's interesting to also see this trend of outerwear brands partnering with traditionally viewed as luxury designers. Like I think about how Canada Goose, they brought on Heider Ackerman as a way to elevate their image, and now we have Kim Jones, who is formerly of Dior, Fendi, Louis Vuitton, become the creative director at Ariel. But moving back to Fendi, Sylvia isn't disappearing. She is moving to the role of president, so she's going to still be involved with the brand, but who is replacing her is Maria Grazia Chiuri, who has been appointed as Fendi's new creative director. So for those who don't know, Chiuri actually started her career at Fendi, where she helped create the iconic baguette. So this is another full circle moment. Her time at Dior was incredibly successful commercially. She reportedly tripled revenue, and she brought, I also think, a new perspective to the brand, a softer feminine elegance. Think florals, embroidery, pearls, embellishment. That really resonated with a lot of women. Her aesthetic, it's very delicate and romantic, and I think it'll be very curious to see how this translates at a brand like Fendi, which I think, when I think specifically about even just their handbags, there's more of this kind of cool, geometric, blockular and playful vibe about Fendi. Of course, that's the effect of Sylvia Fendi. Of course, Kim Jones was there, but of course, an incredible legacy of someone like Karl Lagerfeld being at the brand. But I can also see how there's overlap. Both houses value texture and embellishment, but I think there's just different styles. And I also think Fendi has more of like a quirky, funky side to them, especially in the accessories. So it will be interesting to see this new direction for the brand. Yes, that's the latest in terms of these creative director changes. Who knows, maybe by the time this video gets out, there's some major story, but there are still some houses that are unseated, seats that are not filled yet. Going back to Hermes, Hermes is going to be expanding into haute couture. So I wonder, does that mean they're going to have a new creative director, or if perhaps Nadege is going to be leading both ends of that? I think about a brand like Armani, who also just recently passed away, one of the legends of fashion. It has not been announced what is yet to come with Armani. There's also creative directors that don't have any seats either, that could potentially be moving on to other houses. Of course, I think about John Galliano. He left Margiela on such a high note. It'll be interesting to see if he has any plans. I felt like with his goodbye, it almost felt like he was saying he has plans, or in due time we're going to see. And then Eddie Slimane, of course, formerly of Celine. I don't know, is he going to start his own house? What his plans are. Anyways, I don't want to like speculate too much. I just wanted to talk about some of this with you guys. So yeah, those were some of the major changes. I would love to know, what are your thoughts? Are you interested in any of these changes? For me personally, what speaks to my style is I am very excited about Grace Wales Bonner at Hermes. Of course, it's menswear, but we know it is like a luxury leather goods house. I'm just interested to see what her perspective brings and how she interprets Hermes. Like, I am very excited about that. So anyways, I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining me in another video, and I hope to see you in the next one.